I just want to start out with a thank you to all of you for being here. We appreciate you taking the time. Um, Certainly the media has recognized the increase in our fire activity because you've all been there with us as our crews have been out on these fires. So we appreciate your help reporting the incidents that we've been responding on and the challenges that those have brought. As I've been out and about, I get people asking me, is this normal? Is it an anomaly or what? And I can say that this fire activity we've had in June, July has certainly been an anomaly that we haven't been used to. We have seen an increase in our activity over time as the community has grown, and we would expect to see that in the future. But this short-term stint where we've had a number of fire calls, especially structure fires, has definitely been a little bit of an anomaly, and that has created some challenges for the department. I think there were some earlier reports about how we've expended our entire year's foam supply already, and that we've had to order that. We certainly, the heat and during this time of year with responding on these fires has taken a toll on some of our supplies that we use to keep the firefighters hydrated and safe. And so those are some of the immediate challenges that we've seen around the scene. But the other thing that's happened during this time, which is just coincidental really, is that we have a fire academy going on right now. And so we're in the middle of a temporary staffing reduction. So that has also been challenging for us. Normally our engines are staffed with 4 people, and depending on the day and the staffing, some of our engines have been at a reduced staffing of 3 people. And so in turn, what we end up doing is we use more apparatus on the fires. We may call an additional unit to help with that. And that's important for our firefighter safety so that we have enough folks on the fire to address the incident and also have the ability to rotate the crews out during the hot weather we've had and to make sure they're staying safe. So the toll also has taken a little bit on our overall service. So if you can think about all the other things that your fire department does, our crews are out there every day doing training, fire inspections of businesses, public education, and so when we're busy like this, then certainly the 911 calls take precedence. So our crews are not out there doing those fire safety inspections as much as they would normally do, or we might have to be delaying or changing some of the public education that we're doing, or relying on our PIOs certainly more to make sure that that's happening. So that call volume does affect us in other ways besides just the 911 side. I believe all of you have a packet, and so there's some stats in the packet. I'm just going to hit a couple of them that jumped out at me as we talk about our situation. And these are the stats that I'm going to talk about right now are really long-term, what we're seeing, and you can see from the department overview about our call volume. We certainly have we're seeing an increase, and that's come over time certainly. But last year we finished at about 16,000 incidents. We're on path to increase about 44% by 2018, roughly 4,100 calls for service. So pretty big predicted jumps in call volume that we will see. The increase in call volume certainly affects our response times also, which you notice that also, where we've seen an uptick in in how long it takes us to get to the calls. As the crews get busier and busier, then they may be out of their own district, backing up another crew. So if a call comes in their district, then there's going to be a little bit of a delay getting back there. So we see those challenges also when we get busy with response times. You'll notice mutual aid has seen some changes also, where we have primarily been a large provider of mutual aid for our neighboring departments. You can see on the charts that were provided where we're starting to see where we give less mutual aid to our partnering agencies, and we are asking them to provide mutual aid to us more often. So, and I will tell you that here in Mesa County, we have a countywide mutual aid agreement, and so this is not unusual. All of the fire districts are signers of that agreement, and so on any given day, certainly any given week, there is mutual aid going on across this county and certainly across the valley. So that's not out of the ordinary. It's just the dynamics of as we all get busier and asking for help from our neighbors, we're seeing an increase in that, certainly. So what do I see for the future? Just for a quick wrap up of my section is, as I mentioned, the Fire Academy. We have 16 new firefighters in an academy that graduate on Friday, so we're very excited about that. Those firefighters will come out and certainly provide immediate help for our staffing. So we're looking forward to that. Those positions are mostly attrition positions. We do have 3 new positions that are in that academy group, so we're excited to have a little bit of relief there. But we recognize that we have a long-term needs for an additional station. We've talked a lot about that, a station up north where we don't currently have a station. We really need to get one up there to help the response time in that area, but also to provide backup relief to our other districts. And so we will continue to plan for that north station. Funding certainly is a challenge for all of us here in the county as we are recovering from the recession, and that's been the case with that fire station project too. So, but I do want to say that we have great support from city administration and from city council with public safety issues, and we've talked to them a lot about this, and they certainly recognize the need and are right there with us trying to find solutions to provide that additional station up north when we can find the funding for it. So I do want to thank the community. We've had a great outpouring from the community to our stations for water, Gatorade. So they've seen that need, that our folks have needed that, and so that's been appreciated. But I think even more important is the comments that I've heard from our folks as they've been out and about, when they've been doing inspections or when they've been on these calls, where just the thanks from the community, a pat on the back and recognition that we're out there for them, providing service, and they really appreciate the help. And so in turn, I just want to thank the community for taking a second to say thanks to our firefighters for the hard work that they do. And thank you certainly to the media. We wouldn't be able to get our public safety messages or our how to be safe messages out to the community without your help, and so we appreciate you supporting us in that also.
Just wanted to tell you a little bit about what we do and how we do it. We basically have 2 fire investigators that are assigned to shifts. Sometimes they get reassigned to another shift, or they have vacation days or something such as that. So it usually takes at least 2 investigators to do a good fire cause and origin investigation. So they go out, typically they're out there on the truck when that rolls up, and they're participating in the fire. During the fire, they can notice a lot of things about how the fire might have started or where this fire was actually located at. So that's part of the investigation. Then after the fire is put out, then comes the shovel work and interviews and further investigation. If we find something that's suspicious and we need to do something, prosecute somebody like that, then they would team with either the police department if it was in the city or SO if it was in the county. With all the fires that we've had and the fact that these people are actually participants on their different crews, and one of them may be off at one time, we are extremely taxed. So a lot of the reports are not very timely. Like I said, they may have a day off, they may have 4 days off, they have to get back and do the interviews, those kinds of things, and they take photographs and they may have to take evidence out there while they're out there. I know there's been a lot of questions as whether or not we have somebody out there setting fires. So that would be classified as arson if you intentionally set a fire. So we haven't found that we have got that in one case right now that they were in the process of prosecuting, possibly, where we had the sparklers that the kids were putting in cars along North Avenue. So that was intentionally done. They have some evidence there, and I'm sure that they'll go through with the prosecution on that. Other fires are set. Sometimes it's accidental, but it causes a fire. A lot of times we'll have like fires. We've had the ones on 12th Street and the junipers. A lot of people don't realize that evergreens basically burn like gasoline. In fact, in past years, we used to put mulch, which is dried wood, next to a lot of the bus stations, and after about 2 or 3 days, we were going on multiple fires to the different bus stations because some of the people getting on the bus would just throw their cigarette butts out there. So, cigarettes are definitely something that could cause a fire out there. Is there a chance of fireworks? Yes, there's a chance of fireworks. Somebody could intentionally set something in an evergreen. We haven't actually found that evidence as of yet, and so if nobody comes up from the public or we don't find the evidence that it caused the fire, we have no proof. I'm going to say 95% of the fires out there that are caused by fireworks are illegal fireworks, not by legal fireworks. Because typically, if you have a legal firework, you're standing in front of the firework. If it caused a fire or something like that, you're there to put it out. Illegal fireworks are those that usually they're purchased out of state. They're illegal because they go up or blow up, and sometimes they'll go 3 blocks away. And we may find the firework, but we can't actually find out who it was that actually set the firework off. So those are some of the things that we're dealing with. So we could have some accidentals. It's by somebody throwing a cigarette butt out the window. But we could have somebody out there that occasionally throws out some kind of a firework. That's always a possibility. There are accidents that you could do by doing something in your garage with electricity, or you're working with flammable liquids. When it's hotter at this time, flammable liquids catch fire a lot faster. There's been some talk of explosions in garages when we've had that. Typically in most of the garages, you've got paint cans, those kinds of things, and so it might not be the explosion that causes the fire. The explosion is probably a result of the fire, because when these paint cans basically expand, they'll explode, and if we've got a fire going on, you'll get a big fireball out of them. So, I wouldn't be particularly worried about that. I haven't seen what I would classify as a pattern out there in between different fires. Do I think that a lot of these are human caused? I'm going to say yes. I believe that they are. Whether or not they're intentionally or not, I can't make that judgment. Just that we're taxed out there. I think that it would be, we have a problem because it would be nice to be able to follow up on fires on a day-to-day basis, but that's really tough with the way that things are going right now, with everybody being as busy as they are, and they're always on the fire truck at the same time. So I urge the public out there to be vigilant in what's going on out there. If they see anything suspicious or any of those kinds of things, please call us. We're always trying to follow up on different things. Most of the fires that you'll see that are on the sheet have come to what we classify as, we're not going to do any further action at this time unless so you'll see undetermined. And an undetermined is typically kind of like a cold case or something like that. So it doesn't mean that it's undetermined that we found out exactly where the fire was and exactly what caused the fire, but we may get further information. It might be a month down the road, might be 2 months down the road, or we may not get any further information. So just ask the public to be vigilant out there. I'm not seeing a pattern out there, but I can understand your concern. I am concerned about the amount of fires. I know with the hot weather and the low humidity in the air, basically that just any kind of grass or anything is able to burn real quickly, and just the slightest spark will set that kind of stuff off. So thank you for your time.
Fire calls also affects EMS. And the way it affects EMS is those fires consume at least one ambulance, maybe two, depends on the fire, how many personnel that we have on a fire scene. We have to worry about the safety of our firefighters in this heat of fighting fire. It's very grueling work with heavy bunker gear on, and so rehab for our firefighters is extremely important as we cycle people through to fight the fires. And that takes EMS personnel to achieve that, and ambulances to assure safety for our firefighters. Also, along with that, all of our fire apparatus and ambulances are staffed with EMTs and/or paramedics, which respond to medical or traumatic emergencies. So a lot of times you're going to get an engine response with an ambulance, and when they're fighting fires, we're short of resources for the EMS system as well. The EMS system overall is an extremely busy system, and our providers are running a very high call volume. You may not know this, but 80% of what the fire department does is EMS calls. For every fire that you hear about out there, there's maybe 9 or 10 EMS calls that have happened in between those fires. So saying that, over the past 5 years, our call volume has increased by 35%, which is a high call volume for our current model that we have. And the chief talked about, an additional fire station could be very important for our future to add additional apparatus and EMS personnel to our fire service.
Good morning. Emergency Manager Gus Hendricks for the City of Grand Junction. I just wanted to take this opportunity to really talk about what we can do as citizens here in the city and in our rural district to protect ourselves from fire. We've had an opportunity to hear how busy we are. The number of fires have been increasing. We're doing what we can as a department, but it's also incumbent upon us as citizens in the community to take care of ourselves in order to try and prevent some of these fires from getting bigger, growing faster. So in doing that, we want to look at our own property. And what we do is we kind of look at and step back and take a minimum of around a 30-foot space around our home on our property, and that's just a good place to start. So what we want to do is kind of look at our entire property, look and take an evaluation of what trees are in the area, what bushes do we have around the house, what debris are leaning up against the homes that's going to spread this fire threat quicker into the homes. So stepping back, we'll look at our trees. Are there a lot of low-lying hanging limbs that need to be removed? Are there dead or dying trees that should be removed that's going to spread that threat of fire? As we move closer, are there tall weeds around the home? Do we have a deck or some other facilities out around our house where we need to remove leaves, pine needles, and some other materials? Juniper bushes. Fire Marshal Mathis had mentioned that evergreen trees, juniper bushes in particular, are incredibly flammable. So getting those away from the home, they're very aesthetic, but try not to have them up against your home because that's going to rapidly allow that fire to spread and get into our homes. Keeping everything clean. As we approach the house, looking, same thing. Are all of those debris picked up? Is everything clear? Looking at even the eaves on our home. Are they open or are they closed? All of our eaves should have something blocking and not allowing embers or hot smoke and fire to get up into that eaves, into the attic in the homes. We have vents on the outside, whether into our basement or into our attics. Do they have wire screens on them for the same reason, to prevent some of those embers from getting into that structure, either into the basement or into the attic of the home? As we look around and remove some of those debris around our house, we move into the house, and in particular into the garage. What flammables do we store in the garage, and are they kept in a non-flammable type container such as a metal storage locker? Do we have oily rags laying around in the garage? Those, again, should be collected up and put into a non-flammable container in order to prevent some of that spread of fire. As far as looking around in the garage or around your home, if we're smokers, making sure that we're cognizant of where we're putting those cigarette butts, not letting them lie on the outside of the home, not extinguishing or putting them out where there's a lot of debris around the house. So it's really up to us to be vigilant, to keep our homes clear of debris, clear of any dead brush, in order to stop that spread of fire into our homes. So, thank you.